What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. The last couple videos have performed better than they should, so we are going to stay on this for a little while. Long day, another nervous system screaming at you day. Not going to drink, but effectively what's happened is there is a 1,500-pound dog that I've been fighting alone for years to keep alive, but doing it alone because nobody cares, nobody wants to help. I feel like Rambo at the end of First Blood, and nobody would help. So we carried and loaded the 1,500-pound dog alone, and then we unloaded it and stored it alone, and then we loaded it back up alone, and then we unloaded it alone, and then executed it alone. As everyone who didn't help, didn't care, criticizes you for it, demonizes you for it, because it is a sad, terrible thing to put down this 1,500-pound dog. But I was listening to some music, and one of the songs I listened to is called My Jealousy by VV Baby. I'll link it in the description if I remember to. But I'd been thinking about this new relationship I found myself in, and it's weird because it's closely mirroring the steps and the feelings, the characteristics of the most serious relationship I've ever been in, which we've talked about on the channel before. Two major life relationships. One, they were both pretty intense, but one was decidedly more serious and more important than the other. In that relationship, I was a younger dude, INTP, with an older woman, ENTJ, probably ASPD. And I was thinking about something she said to me back then. I can't wait to see the man you are at 30. And I didn't understand what she meant then, but over the years I started understanding it more because I was living it. But now that I am in this mirror relationship, inverted, I'm the older one, she's the younger one, I see it clearly. I get it now. You occasionally run into people you know are going to be something. You don't know what it is exactly. They don't know if they realize it, and odds are good they don't realize it or don't fully realize it themselves. And I spent a lot of the day thinking about that. Their potential allows them to swing at a higher level, but you can't hold them to that level at all times because what you're interacting with is high potential. Napoleon wasn't always Napoleon. He was always going to be Napoleon, but figuring out how to be what he was destined to be took time. And I'm fortunate I had that mirror experience early in life because I'm aware of what's happening, more aware than my ex was at the time. And nothing is wrong right now, nothing is going wrong right now. Things are going well, but keeping important shit in mind never hurts. Now, considering we spent the first 4 minutes talking about this, you might assume the title of the video has to do with what we just talked about, or the song I referenced has to do with what I just talked about. But no. This helped me realize some things about that, and that is what we're talking about today. You can't fix that. That is what a song like My Jealousy probably does really well with. We're going to call them femcells because I don't know what else to call them. They are like the flappers of our 20s, and they come in a variety of flavors, some more or less socialized, but they all have this distant, tragic internet thing going on. Like, they want to be saved from their lives, from their circumstances, from themselves, and they'll spend all of their 20s, maybe even part of their 30s, fucking around, accruing a small rotation of orbiters. But they never change, and they never do anything. They never go anywhere. They never become anyone because there is no anyone for them to become, and there never was. That's why they do this. And I think that's why each decade's dominant aesthetic exists. Flappers existed, femcells exist, so low-tier bitches have an identity to get something out of and to occupy themselves with. Because if you look around, high-level women aren't doing this shit. Either they're doing their own thing, or they seem to be going back to a Britney Spears aesthetic, but that's more of a design inspo than it is an aesthetic or a dominant identity the way dominant identities are. And the more sophisticated femcells have been known to fuck my time away from me, but something has always smelled wrong there, like that's not what you're supposed to be doing. And then, more specifically, it's the lower level femcells, or maybe the femme true cells, stinky ones, Tomoko motherfuckers. I never understood the appeal of that. And that always irritated me. I think in part because on some level you know it's the same thing, but it's the worst version of the same thing. And what I'm talking about is the way this class of woman uses faults and flaws and shortcomings to attract men. I think attainability and relatability are parts of it. Oh, she smells bad and she likes video games. She's literally me. We would be perfect for one another. And realistically, actually, you probably would. That's the tragedy of it. But her being a loser makes her valuable. Your being a loser makes you a loser. And another layer of it, I think, is the male desire to help. And I don't mean this as if all men are good or decent people. Most men stink. Most men are not trying to be helpful out of the kindness of their own hearts. Men are trying to be helpful because that's where we fit in, if we fit in at all. And especially with young dudes. I am so glad I am on the cusp of no longer being a young dude. I know young dudes like watching this channel. Don't be afraid of getting older. Don't be afraid of becoming an unk. Unkhood is an ascension. And I mean that. Normally I tell young dudes to go kick rocks, because realistically that's all you can do with young dudes, because if you try to help young dudes or allow young dudes around you, there's a reason young dudes are treated like the scum of the earth. You are the scum of the earth. You're retarded, you don't understand anything, you get in the way of things instead of helping, or you think you're helping, but your idea of helping is actually this subtle but not so subtle way of trying to get control of something you didn't build. Young dudes are stinky. However, it gets better. Not because it gets better, but because you get better. And maybe, like me, you'll have a day you realize you wake up and you're a different person. When did that happen? Anyway, there's something sinister about fem cells. They are not luring you in with their positive traits. They're not luring you in with their strengths. They're luring you into a work pit, into a hole that is being dug. Both because it's, again, they know you have nothing to offer but your hands, your sweat, your attention. So they create an opening for what you have, and then they keep you digging the hole with this vague idea: if we dig this hole deep enough, then we can start building a castle. But you don't build a castle by digging a hole. You build a castle by building a castle, and you dig a hole by digging a hole. And it's like that astronaut meme. Wait, we're not fixing her? We never were. Because that's another thing, and I don't know how this happened. Bad therapy has a lot to do with it. These dumb bitches, they tell you to go to therapy. Always they tell you to go to therapy. No consideration for how expensive therapy is. And apparently no awareness of what therapy is. Because I did therapy, and it's nothing like what they think it should be. A broken person doesn't need to be fixed to build something. In fact, I don't think actively fixing a person ever fixes a person. The only thing that fixes a broken person is building something else. And in the building of that thing, eventually they're going to realize either they're fixed or they're as fixed as they're going to be. So with fem cells, you're working toward a finish line that never existed in the first place because it's unnecessary. If this individual wanted to be more, wanted to be greater, wanted to build something of themselves, build something with you, they never did. And odds are good, with most of them, they never will. If your interactions with a woman aren't going somewhere pretty quickly, you need to make a decision. Either this is going nowhere, so I'm gone, or this is going nowhere, but I'll stick around for now. And I've done that before. Well, I've done both. I've done all three before. I've done walk away, I've done stick around with awareness, and I've done stick around without awareness. The three rings of hell of being a man trying to find a good woman. But whatever you do and why ever you do it, it's important to be aware when you're dealing with a hole digger. You don't want to waste a lot of time, and especially resources, with a woman who says, you can maybe help dig my hole if you want to. Like, it's your privilege for getting to get fucked out of the one thing you have. What you're looking for is a woman who comes to you and says, hey, stupid, I'm building a castle, or I'm trying to, and I want you to be my contractor. It is her privilege, and it's your privilege. It's a sort of mutual humility and directness. Typically, I hate people who say bud and buddy, but we had a commenter on the last video who used the word congruent. I haven't used that word in a long time. Great vocabulary word. You're looking for congruence. And people say when a woman is interested in you, she makes everything easy. That's true. But then you also have the other side that says getting to know whether or not you like someone, or whether or not she likes you, rather, takes time for her, so you can't expect her to make everything easy immediately. But that's false, and that's why mostly women are saying that. Luring you into being the lowly, or one of many lowly little diggers in her hole. When a woman thinks you might be her contractor, or could be her contractor, she'll make the waiting easy. She'll give you... It'll be so nice you won't even realize it's a waiting room. It's air conditioned, there are hors d'oeuvres. It's like Mr. Incredible in that jet. The waiting room will be so nice your stupid ass doesn't realize it's a waiting room, which is a good sign. And maybe it pans out you're not going to be her contractor, there's some disconnect. At least you know she took you seriously. Unlike Miss Nonchalance, your overseer. Which is another thing. Nonchalance in dudes is embarrassing, as it should be. But people make fun of it. But you don't see people mock nonchalance in women, and I don't understand why. Probably because, as strategies go, it's vastly more effective for women than it is on women. But it's still corny. But instead of yammering for another 15 minutes, I think you got the point. Next planned video will be about levels of love and the way love is spooky when you're taking it seriously. And maybe you have to be a certain age or have reached a certain level to feel that. That's some scary shit. That's something we're going to talk about. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.